Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
I don't remember a time when I wasn't second place in my own family. At birthdays, the cake always had Mason's name first. At Christmas, my gifts were practical, socks, notebooks, while Mason got tablets and bicycles he'd break by spring. My parents, Anne and Harold, didn't even notice the quiet resentment growing like ivy around my heart. They were too busy polishing Mason's endless trophies and framing his crooked smile on every wall of the house. "Lennon, come help your brother with his project," Mom would shout from the kitchen, as Mason barked orders at me like I was his personal servant. One evening sticks sharper than the rest. I was 15, sitting at the kitchen table, a letter trembling in my hands. The letter. Acceptance into a summer program at Helmsford University, a prestigious gateway to dreams I'd never dared to say aloud. "Mom, Dad, can I talk to you?" My voice was barely more than a whisper. Dad barely looked up from the news. "What is it, Lennon? Make it quick." I held out the letter, heart pounding. I got accepted. Helmsford University's summer program. They're offering a scholarship, full ride. For a fleeting second, Mom's eyes widened. Pride? Maybe. But then Mason entered, plopping onto the sofa like a king reclaiming his throne. "Helmsford's far," Mason said casually, tossing popcorn into his mouth. "You sure he's ready? I mean, Lennon barely keeps up with classes here." I flinched. It was a lie. I had straight A's, while Mason struggled with even basic math. But Mason knew how to plant seeds of doubt, and my parents, they were fertile ground. Mom frowned. "It's a big move. What if you get overwhelmed?" Dad grunted. "Maybe you should think smaller, son. Stay close. Get a job. Help out." The letter crumpled slightly in my tightening fist. "I can do it," I insisted. "This is a real opportunity." Mason leaned back, smirking. "Maybe later. No rush." "We don't want you getting hurt out there." Their decision was swift. Final. I was to stay local, attend community college. They said it was for my own good, but the truth was clear. They couldn't imagine a world where Mason wasn't the star. I lay awake that night, staring at the cracked ceiling. Rage, sorrow, and something fiercer, resolve, warred inside me. If they wouldn't believe in me, I'd just have to believe in myself. And Mason? I promised myself that someday I would step out of this shadow so brightly, so powerfully, that even he would have to shield his eyes. I just didn't know yet how far he'd go to make sure that never happened. I made the decision 2 weeks after the Helmsford rejection. Alone, uncelebrated, unapologetic. At night, I scoured the internet, researching loans, scholarships, anything that could help me slip away from the house that had smothered me for too long. And when I found it, a late entry scholarship for independent applicants, it felt like breathing for the first time. One humid August morning, I tiptoed downstairs with a battered suitcase and a heavy heart. Mason was sprawled across the couch, video game controller dangling from his lazy hand. He barely noticed me. "Going somewhere, Lenny?" he drawled, not looking up. I swallowed hard. "Just moving into campus early. Orientation stuff." He smirked. "Local campus. Thought you were commuting like a good boy." I forced a smile. Change of plans. Mason's eyes narrowed, suspicion flickering across his face. But true to his nature, he didn't bother pressing. In his mind, I wasn't worth the effort. He wouldn't realize until it was too late. By the time the sun kissed the horizon, I was gone. Helmsford's campus was everything I dreamed of. Sprawling greens, towering libraries, lecture halls buzzing with possibilities. For once, I wasn't just Mason's brother. I was Lennon. Just Lennon. But peace, I learned, was short-lived. It started with strange emails from the dean's office. Questions about financial aid. Accusations of falsified documents. Things I knew were airtight. Confused, I dug deeper, only to discover that someone had been tampering with my student portal. Panic twisted in my chest. I confronted the IT department one chilly afternoon. The tech guy, a scruffy junior with coffee breath, looked apologetic as he scrolled through access logs. "Looks like someone tried to reset your password from an external IP multiple times. He peered at me. "You got anyone back home who might want to mess with you?" I didn't need to think. Mason. He must have hacked into my emails. He'd always been better with computers than anyone realized. Probably fed my parents lies about how I was struggling too. I could almost hear his voice. Poor Lennon. Couldn't handle the pressure after all. That night, sitting on the cracked steps outside my dorm, a cold certainty settled over me. Mason hadn't let me go, but neither would I quit. Gritting my teeth, I changed every password, locked down every account. I picked up a brutal part-time job shelving library archives, studying late into the night, burning every ounce of anger into a weapon. I would survive this. I would thrive. And when the time came, I would make sure Mason knew exactly what he tried, and failed, to destroy. By my second year at Helmsford, I was already pulling ahead. My days blurred into a cycle of classes, work, and study. Sleep was a luxury. Self-doubt was a daily visitor, but so was stubbornness. Mason's voice haunted me, laughing, mocking, and every time it did, I studied harder. I graduated a full year early, magna cum laude. When I walked across that stage, the applause was for the boy no one had believed in. No one from my family came. They didn't even know. 2 weeks later, I stood in the bright lobby of Sterling & Co., clutching a job offer letter that would catapult me into a six-figure salary. A shaky laugh slipped out of me. I made it. I actually made it. My phone buzzed. A message from Mom. "Hope you're doing okay at community college, sweetie. Mason says you might need tutoring. Let us know if you need more money. Proud of you no matter what." I stared at it, a slow, bitter smile creeping across my face. Still blind, still believing Mason's poisonous lies. I texted back simply, "Thanks, I'm doing just fine." Pocketing the phone, I stepped into the elevator. Higher, always higher. But part of me knew Mason wasn't finished yet. The invitation arrived in a heavy ivory envelope, sealed with gold wax. "Mason and Claire request the honor of your presence." The handwriting oozed smugness. I laughed, sharp and humorless. Mason's wedding, the perfect stage for his endless performance. A week later, Dad called. "You'll be there," he said curtly. "Mason's big day matters more than your stubbornness." "I'm not coming," I said calmly. "I have a life now." There was a pause. Then the threat. "Then don't expect another cent from us." I almost pitied him. "Dad," I said slowly, "I don't need your money." I never did. The silence crackled on the line, brittle as old paper. Still, a knot of anger tightened inside me. Mason's reach hadn't ended. He'd baited them into this call, sure that I'd crawl back. That's when I made my decision. I will be attending the wedding, not to beg, but to end this charade once and for all. The ballroom gleamed under crystal chandeliers full of polished laughter and polite smiles. I entered quietly, unnoticed, just the way I wanted it. When it came time for toasts, Mason swaggered up first, flashing his signature smirk. "I'd like to thank everyone who believed in me," he crowed, his eyes glinting toward our parents, "especially those who didn't waste their lives chasing silly dreams." A ripple of forced laughter followed. My hands clenched under the table. When my turn came, I rose slowly, feeling every pair of eyes burn into me. I wasn't supposed to succeed. I began, voice steady. But while some of us were busy playing the hero at home, others were quietly graduating with honors and building a six-figure career. The room fell into a stunned silence. Mason's glass slipped from his hand, shattering on the marble floor. "You're lying," he hissed, stumbling forward. His face was flushed deep red. "No, Mason," I said softly. "I just stopped playing your game." In a rage, Mason grabbed a champagne bottle, tried to toast again, and angrily smashed the bottle on the floor and started cursing loudly at everyone. He was calmed down by security. He sat down at his seat at the table and fell asleep with his face in the salad and snored loudly. Gasps turned into barely concealed laughter. Mason's fiancée, Elise, covering her face in shame, ran outside. Mom covered her mouth. Dad looked away. Mason's fall wasn't just a drunken mistake. It was the crumbling of false image carefully built for years. And I realized then, I never needed their approval. I had built my own life, brick by honest brick. As I exited, the night air embraced me. For the first time, I felt seen, not as Mason's brother, but as Lennon, the man who rose beyond the shadows.
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.